Welcome to the Halloween episode of Horror TV Shows We Miss. Well, possible Halloween episode. We'll see. Anyway, Halloween can be all year round if you want it to. You're an adult, and this is your life. This episode is near and dear to my cold little black heart. Well, this may not have been my first anthology series. It was certainly one of the most memorable.
No, I don't think you're supposed to.
What is it? Anyone want to guess? I'll leave you on a brief pause and then you can shriek your answer.
What do you think?
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I give you Are You Afraid of the Dark? Were you right? If you were, give yourself a high five. If we could deliver you all a severed head, then we would.
Yuck.
Oh geez, where do we even start with this one? I will say, I'm sure I'm not alone. This is another creepy intro for me. I know we've dug into intros, but that was one of the things that stayed with me so much as a kid was some of the intros to the horror shows that I watched. It likely delayed my viewing of the series for about a year or so. When I finally did get into it, I really got into it. It was part of my little spooky adventures like Goosebumps, Fear Street, Ghost Rider, and Christopher Pike novels. I want to thank you guys for watching Horror TV Shows We Miss, and ask if you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now. Like this video and click the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. And now, back to the show. Are You Afraid of the Dark started out as Scary Tales, a pitch from DJ MacHale and Ned Kandel. Originally, the network passed on the pitch saying, "You can't scare kids, it's not gonna fly." When they left, MacHale left behind a 3-page treatment of what the series was going to be. A year flew by when MacHale and Kandel went to pitch a different show, which also didn't get picked up. But fate did have something in store for them thanks to a new hire from Nick named Jay Mulvaney. One day Mulvaney picked up the treatment for Are You Afraid of the Dark and said, "How come we aren't doing this show? Is this still a thing?" Then that was that. Mulvaney was the guy who took the bold steps, let people try and fail, and found creativity in places that others weren't looking. This was Nickelodeon in the 90s in a nutshell. If you recall, Are You Afraid of the Dark came on during the Great Night of Snick, the big orange couch, Clarissa, Pete and Pete, Roundhouse, and Are You Afraid? The initial first airing was Tale of the Twisted Claw on Halloween night 1990 on Canada's YTV. I think Big Wolf on Campus played there as well. Oh, Canada. You've given me so many great things. Letterkenny, The Hip, Ginger Snaps, Rush, JoBlo.com, and many others. Speaking of Letterkenny, Jacob Tierney and Danielle Petronovich had parts on the show. The pilot episode aired on October 25th, 1991 on Nickelodeon, then would become part of the Snick lineup on August 15th, 1992. I remember it was awesome because I was finally able to stay up really late but wasn't old enough to drive. You could stay up as long as you wanted and watched whatever you wanted and nobody bugged you. So, when it comes to things that we love about the show, we can start with the intro. Alright, let's think of all the possible things that could creep out children within reasonable means, and then let's put the music over it with creepy voices like children's laughter and door shutting, and hope everyone gets to sleep at night. It's so iconic though, the intro is probably the first thing you think of when the show comes up. If it's not, please tell us in the comments what traumatized you enough that the intro isn't the winner here. For a kids show, the intro held up with the best of the best. This was also a friend group that I wanted. I thought it would be so cool to have a group of friends who went into the woods and told scary stories. Heck, I wanted to be a member of the Midnight Society. I love saying, "I call this tale," before most of my stories back in the day. The kids and the teens and the evolving group always seemed like the kind you would want to hang out with, except for, maybe a couple. But that was kind of the great thing about it was the dynamic. If you had a group of friends you told scary stories with, I'm jealous. I guess it's never too late to find your own Midnight Society. The show was also perfect in the way that while it was scary at times, it showed kids how brave they could be. The idea was to be scary, but not in a way where it would stick to you for the majority of your life. What's the thing that scares you the most? And don't show that to your kids. They realized that kids were a lot smarter than the shows made them out to be. Give them the Hitchcock Twilight Zone model and they'll surprise you. There were times when the show could be dark, maybe darker than they intended. I mean, it's evidenced by the fact that we're writing this.
We haven't been properly introduced yet.
So now let's get to our favorite episodes. The Tale of the 13th Floor. This one goes first for me because it's so deeply embedded in my brain because of one scene. Don't get me wrong, the rest of the episode is good, but the ending was something I was not at all expecting. Obviously, if you're still listening, then you've either seen this or you don't mind that I'm giving it away. But in the middle of the TV transmission at the end, and the brother looks at the sister thinking it's all a big joke, and then all he sees is just a blank slate. A masked face with nothing.
What you talking about? Is this a joke or what?
This is pre-Slender Man, and at first I thought the Great Value brand B-52s were just going to be cyborgs, but apparently I was dead wrong. The tone of the episode starts out weird to begin with. The siblings, one of them is Aaron Ashmore, also known as Jimmy Olsen, also known as Brother Weissman, are playing on an abandoned floor in a creepy building. Then they get an invitation to come test out some games on a 13th floor that didn't exist before now. What did I learn in the end? Don't play in abandoned buildings anymore, and definitely become a little bit more freaked out by TV static.
It's my dream.
No, dear. This isn't a dream. This was your rescue.
The Tale of the Whispering Walls. This one immediately starts scaring the crap out of you when the kids walk up to the campfire and there's someone standing there with their back turned to the group. Then slowly they turn around and reveal a skull mask. Okay, I'm out, just like Kirsten was. Gary gets us all to chill, and then the person in the mask is none other than Betty Ann. You knew it had to be her. She likes the weird stuff, which makes sense as the Tale and 13th Floor are both hers. Alright, on to the story now. Two siblings, it's already a theme, get lost on some back roads with their babysitter. When they pull over to the first place they find, they go in and there's a bar with a very peculiar man standing next to it. When they ask for directions, they're led to a house that can only be imagined as something literally out of my nightmares. The guy is creepy, people start speaking through the walls. There's a scene that gives off Overlook Hotel July 4th ball vibe, and then there's this part where the babysitter's in the room holding what looks to be a baby covered in a white sheet. What the fuck is happening here?
Don't worry, I'm okay. I found this little baby and we can go just as soon as he's asleep.
I thought about this one for days after I saw it. The Tale of Old Man Corcoran. This one is near and dear to my heart for one reason. It reminds me of one of my favorite R.L. Stine novels, Hide and Shriek. Credit to ghostwriter Emily James. Though technically, this episode came out first. Two siblings, yeah, I know, move to a new home in the suburbs. Both kids are feeling the new kid lonely vibes when a pack of preteens riding bikes ask them to play a game. They want them to play hide and seek in the cemetery. Hey, sure, why not? And let's bring out the Ouija board, and while we're at it... No, my story, not theirs. There's a story of Old Man Corcoran who haunts the nearby graveyard that he was once the groundskeeper of. Apparently, he was crazy and cut a kid's hand off for trespassing. The thrill of playing hide and seek in the graveyard is that Old Man Corcoran could be anywhere, waiting to chop off one of your limbs. What's great about this is that the old man doesn't wind up being the scary bit. It's the kids. The whole time they were basically just waiting to lure the new kids to an early grave because they are all a pack of selfish little evil ghosts. This is all that Sissy Vernon's fault. What an annoying, awful child. Also, the name should have been our first clue. So, what's so scary about hide and seek?
That ain't very funny. All those kids are dead and buried. I dug the graves myself.
Tale of Laughing in the Dark. When I was a kid, clowns were a no-go. One time I hit a clown at a fair because I thought he was going to hit me. It was an impulse, I'm sorry. Plus, this is all Stephen King's fault. Actually, no, it's my fault. I should have just stayed in my room and colored or something. Things that are wrong with this episode. Clowns and carnivals. Oh, and the cigar thing, but it was the 90s. The fact that at one point it seems like no one is at the carnival anymore, but the lead character freaks me right out. Why would you take the nose off of a clown that looks like that? Who goes into a haunted house called Laughing in the Dark? So the story is the clown was a smoker who trapped himself inside the haunted house, accidentally drops his cigar, and burns himself to death. You want this guy to come after you because of a dare? Guys, please explain your reasoning. To keep Zeebo from bringing him to hell, our main character brings a peace offering of cigars? His dad is going to be so mad.
Just to show there's no hard feelings? Cigars.
The Tale of the Night Shift. Who doesn't like stories about vampires? To begin with, the tale takes place at a hospital at night. I know several folks with hospital phobia, so this would not be the episode for them. The setting already lays on the weirdness with the hospital aspect, and then add that there's hardly anyone there since it's the night shift. You get sort of shifted back and forth with the tone because of the teen drama. Then there's stuff like Felix going to the basement with a pretty girl. Boys, this is how you get bitten by vampires. Haven't you learned anything? Once the staff of the hospital turns into a vampire den, that's when the stuff gets fun.
I'm gonna scare you.
Trips to the morgue, gross puffy vampire bites, the head vampire bursts into flames, and off the roof of the hospital. Good times. 4 stars. Joe Bob says check it out. There's a ton of these episodes that I would put up as my favorites. You can watch a good chunk of the episodes on Paramount Plus, or they also have them on Blu-ray and DVD. Or you can sneak on YouTube, but maybe not because Viacom, yeah, thanks. How it ended. The show was never intended to run forever. The first series run always was meant to be only 65 episodes. I just remember one day it wasn't on anymore. They did play the series in reruns, but just stopped making new episodes until 1999. Alicia Cuthbert, Jay Baruchel, Hayden Christensen were all involved in episodes between 1999 to 2000. I don't think I watched all the episodes from the 99 to 2000s run. At that point, I was watching stuff like Buffy and Charmed. My attention moved from Nick to Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. I was watching music videos until 3 o'clock in the morning. Eventually, the show stopped getting made after some shady dealings with Cinar, the Canadian production company that teamed up with Nick to launch the show. You probably remember seeing Cinar at the beginning of the tales, because I do. The series was recently brought back in 2019 before all of our lives were ruined. I'm glad they brought it back, even though I'm not necessarily the target audience anymore. I watched the first segment, Carnival of Doom, just to see how it played out, and honestly I was surprised. I think they made it just as eerie for a new generation of kiddos looking for the same thing we were looking for. DJ MacHale said that Nickelodeon got to a point where they didn't want to make drama anymore, which might be a big part of their problem now. That we won't get into because it's a very, very long conversation that I feel very passionately about. My short point is that by giving kids this generic, boring humor, we aren't challenging them or broadening their palette with shows that are at their level. No one is trying to reinvent the wheel here, but at some point Nickelodeon just gave up. I blame Dan Schneider. There was also supposed to be a movie that came out but was scrapped. Probably better off.
I told them not to go back there.
What carnival?
The Carnival of Doom.
Anyway, the show wasn't a huge merch cow, but they did have a few choice items that came out during the first run. There was the PC game, The Tale of Orpheo's Curse, which you can actually go play as an emulator online. It was a cool little game for the time, and if you have a minute, I would suggest checking it out for major nostalgia vibes. I feel like I played this at one time but cannot remember for the life of me. One of you probably has it in your closet or in your grandparents' attic. If you do, break it out for spooky time and let us know how it goes. They also had cassette tapes and a book series adaptation. Oh, and my favorite of all time was the music video that was squeezed onto the VHS copies of the series. Hey Michael, just play it a minute. I'll wait. Ugh, I love the show. Technically, it isn't gone forever, but the one that I used to watch is. It was on in a time in my life where I really needed it, which I could say about several of these shows that we cover. Horror, even kids' horror, can be a source of comfort for the viewer. I always wanted to be the protagonist in one of the stories because I never felt empowered in that way in real life, but I knew I was capable. I could totally stand up to Zeebo, obviously. This show showed us that as kids, we were in charge of our own destiny no matter what was in the way. It was also a really great series. DJ MacHale, Ned Kandel, and Nickelodeon at some point. We would like to honor you with a gold-plated severed head for a show we truly miss. Until next time, my creepy companions. As always, if you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends who dig this sort of content and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company and we appreciate all of your support.